Okay. Hello, seventh grade. Let's look at how we solve today's problem that we were working on in class about how to figure out how much money it would cost to buy 1,000 feet of lights. Let's go straight to the video or to the drawing page and remember the problem that we're looking at here. Okay. So if you remember, we were looking at this string of lights, and we know that a string of lights costs $12 if we have 8 feet of lights. But I want to know, how much money do I need to buy 1,000 feet of light? I'm clearly going to need more than one light string. If one light string is only 8 feet long, I'm going to need lots and lots of them to get to 1,000 feet. But let's see, there's a couple ways I can think about this. So let's think about it the way some of you thought about it today. And that is, we just looked at a string of light and we said, well, if it costs $12 for 8 feet, you said, well, we can just divide those numbers and we can say, well, that would be 12 divided by 8. We can come over here and go 12 divided by 8 and say, well, we'll put our decimal here and well, that's 1, 8, 4. We drop down our 0 and we get 1.5. So that's $1.5, which is $1.50 for 1 foot. Okay. 1 foot costs $1.50 if 8 feet costs $12. So now we can say if it's $1.50 for a foot and we need 1,000 feet, we can simply say, well, let's take our $1.50 and we'll write it as a decimal and we'll multiply that by 1,000. And as we know, if we multiply a number by 1,000, it's the same thing as moving the decimal 3 spots, right? So we take our 1.5 and we add a few zeros and we take our decimal and we go, well, 1, 2, 3. So that equals $1,500. Okay, and that's the first way of solving the problem. We can just kind of find this number, and what this is actually called, and we don't need to, we'll talk a lot more about this, but what we have found here is we have found the unit rate. We've said, well, if something's $12 for 8 feet, how much is 1 foot cost? And a unit rate is a number that, or a ratio or a number that we use to identify how much of something, if we had 1 in the denominator, the unit rate is the number that appears on the top. And we'll talk about that in terms of speed. We'll talk about that in terms of dollars per unit amount, distance, lots of things. We'll come back to this concept of unit rate. Now, there's a second way of solving this problem, and that is with this thing called a proportion. So here's the second method. And the way we set up a proportion is this, is we say, well, if it costs $12 to buy 8 feet, we want to make a proportion, and on this side of the proportion, we need to keep the dollars on top, and we need to keep the feet on the bottom. And we only know one of these two things. So we don't know how much money it's going to cost, so we're going to call that thing X. And we know how many feet, so that's 1,000. And the way we solve the problem, and we're going to get this same answer of ultimately $1,500, mind you, but we're going to do this thing called cross multiplication. And the way we do cross multiplication, let me get a different color here, is we're simply going to multiply the two numbers that are across from each other, and we're going to set that equal to these two numbers that are across from each other. So these two numbers, if we multiply them together, we get 12 times 1,000. And that is equal to 8 times X. 8x. 12 times 1,000, let me just bring this rest of this math over here, and we're going to call that 12 times 1,000 is 12,000 equals 8x. And to get back to just what x is, if 8 x's are 12,000, then 1x is 12,000 divided by 8. And if we do our math and identify what 8 into 12,000 is, whoops, 12,000, 8 into 12 is 1, times 8 is 8. Whoops, we're running out of space down here. 4, 45. And if you keep running with the math down the page, you'll come up with 1,500. And so your answer, and remember, because this is a word problem, you have to have units, and so your answer is $1,500. So that's at least 2 ways of solving the problem that we worked on today in math class. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me shut it down. And oh, there's my daughter, Elizabeth. And thank you very much.